FA Cup football is done. Premier League football returns, and West Ham are playing Newcastle at London Stadium on Monday night. As we record this, actually, the games of the weekend haven't yet happened for us. We're recording this on Friday, so you're seeing this obviously on Sunday, so we're playing tomorrow. So obviously we're a little bit unaware at the moment how the results have gone. But before we get into it, Tom, how are you, mate? Are you keeping well?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. It's nice to see some good weather this week. Makes a big difference. So, yeah, very good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Like you, it's nice to see a bit of sunshine out and about again, isn't it? It's been a little while. It's starting to warm up and getting a bit lighter in the morning. So, certainly can't complain. Right, before we get into the video, though, if you're new to the channel, it takes 2 seconds to subscribe, so please do that. We really do appreciate it. It helps us to grow. And also hit that like button because we're getting some seriously good volume on our likes lately, and it obviously helps in the YouTube algorithm and getting other fans on board. So, yeah, we really do appreciate it. Right, Tom, we are facing, of course, Newcastle United, a side that have been doing really well. I think it's fair to say over the recent seasons they've been a solid Premier League side. It feels like long gone are the days of returns to the Championship and sort of disasters. It feels like they're a far more stable outfit. Of course, they've got their ownership's helping that, but I also think Eddie Howe is a huge part of that. He's been an outstanding appointment, really. I'm quite surprised how well he's done considering the pressure of having those new owners, and their wealth. I felt that. When Howe went there, I wasn't sure. I thought, I don't know if he's going to survive that. It's going to be very difficult. But I actually think he's becoming a very solid manager for that club and a very good match. It feels like they work well together, Howe and Newcastle. What are your thoughts on Newcastle this season? Of course, they're got their cup final, haven't they, next week? Which hopefully that's going to play into our hands. Fighting for Champions League football. Are you happy? Should I say impressed with Newcastle?
Yeah, I think definitely, like you say, Eddie Howe is really an impressive manager. He sort of throws that myth that you can't be a young attacking manager outside the top 6 and do well. He's also very, very adaptable. Like Newcastle are really, they can mix it really. They can play on the front foot. We've seen them at St James's Park and pressing teams, big teams like Arsenal and Liverpool, really pressing them and trying to win the ball back high up the pitch and score goals. And then they can also play on the counter-attack like we have in recent weeks. They've got that in them to sit deep, invite the pressure and then hit them on the break with the pace of Gordon, Isak and Jacob Murphy and the like. So, yeah, I think they're a really solid team. Like you say, I think gone are the days where they're sort of in the relegation battle. I think Eddie Howe's done a really solid job there. And obviously, there's a load of teams that could qualify for the Champions League this season. And they definitely could be one. And as a Newcastle fan at this stage, obviously, they might spend more as they go along. But at this stage, you can't argue with a solid Premier League season and a cup final, which is obviously next week, as you say. So, yeah, another good season for Eddie Howe and Newcastle so far. It will be interesting to see how they end up if they can break into the top 4 or at least top 6. They've definitely got the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I mean, they've certainly got, as you say, good opportunities, 2 big opportunities. One, to win a trophy, which I feel like that club are starved of silverware. It's around 50 years since they won their last trophy. So, which much like West Ham, before our Conference League win, it felt like the size of that club are certainly worthy, I feel, of some trophy success. And I like Newcastle. They remind me, I think there's a lot of similarities between West Ham and Newcastle in the fact that they've got such a fierce and passionate support, unwavering in terms of where they are in the football pyramid. If they get relegated, they still sell out St James's Park. They're a really, really special football club, actually. And, my times in my life of travelling up to Newcastle and watching West Ham there and having a couple of weekends up there and stuff, it's quite a special city in that regard as well. They all talk about football. There's Newcastle shirts everywhere in every pub. It's a big part of their community. And so, yeah, I like to see them doing well. Like West Ham, they sort of had that period of doing quite well in the Premier League, and all of a sudden it was like a disaster around the corner. They then get relegated. It was all ownership issues, and then they'd have another good season and come back up. Then they'd have another. It was like I wouldn't describe them as a yo-yo club, but they certainly felt like there was always a nightmare waiting around the corner with Newcastle. And very similar like you get with West Ham. It always feels like every time things are going well, you just feel like, oh, when's this going to end? Because you know that there's going to be some form of nightmare lingering. We've got it ourselves now with Paqueta and all that sort of stuff. We always seem to have some sort of disaster lingering around the corner. I've got a lot of kind of sympathy for Newcastle fans and how they that they've been through it. So I look at them as a club now and feel, God, they really do need a trophy. They need a good day out and something to really celebrate, and something new in their cabinet to enjoy. So look, I've really, really impressed with them. They've got some good players, but I do feel, Tom, this is probably the best time to be playing them. They've got injury issues that we know of at the moment. They've got Anthony Gordon suspended for this game. He also got sent off in the last match, which was a bizarre sending off for him. I don't really know what he was thinking, but obviously certainly helps us out. Sven Botman's been ruled out for this one as well. He's out for a couple of months by the looks of it. Lewis Hall's out for the season. He's a player that I absolutely love. I'm really, really impressed with him. And obviously Isak as well. Now, I know that there's talk that he should be okay for this game. Regardless of all of that, I do think that fans, manager, players, staff are all thinking about the final. We've recently had a final, Tom, didn't we? And I remember that feeling of the build up to it, the couple of weeks building up to the final. That's really all you're thinking about. You're not really if anything, any game in between it's just a bit of a hindrance, a bit of a pain. You could just do without it. You're worried about picking up injuries. You're not really bothered about the result, if anything. You're just like, just don't get injured. We want to be fit for this final. And I know that Eddie Howe will naturally dismiss that, say, like, I know that's the final then, where West Ham is a massive game for us. And it is a big game because they want Champions League football. And I totally get that. And they, like you say, they're in that race, and there's a lot of teams in that race for Champions League and Europa League, etc. Which is a shame. Obviously, of course, we're not part of it, but I'd like to think we will be back there again soon. I still believe that regardless of that European ambition for next season, Champions League football, I still think Sunday's final next week is their priority. I think it will naturally be their priority. I think players will be hesitant to get injured, will probably want to not throw themselves completely into every challenge. I think that's just naturally in the back of their mind. So I think it's a good opportunity for West Ham. Before we go on to talk about West Ham, Tom, do you feel like that's right? Do you feel like this is an opportunity for us? Do you feel like West Ham can go into this with a bit of confidence we might be able to capitalise on their current situation?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's human nature, like you say, that those players will not want to miss that final on Sunday. So, yeah, human nature, they might not be 100%, and even 5%, as we've seen in the Premier League. If you're 5% off it, you get found out very quickly. We obviously come into it in a little bit of form with two back-to-back wins. So, it's a good time to play them, and they will be, have that in the back of their mind. They've also, like I say, got some injuries, got some suspensions. Whether they risk Isak or not is another thing as well. So it is a good time to play them. But that kind of puts a little bit more pressure on us. And then, like I said before, when I'm talking about Newcastle, does that lead them to playing just on the break, letting us have the ball, like we did against Leicester on Thursday night, and just say, okay, we're going to hit on the counter with Barnes, who's obviously going to fill in for Gordon, Jacob Murphy, maybe Isak plays or not, but they still have a threat going forward. So it might lead Eddie Howe to just go with that. Okay, we're just going to sit deep, let West Ham have the ball and hit on the break. So that's something we've got to be wary of, obviously. But yeah, like I say, good time to play them.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think with Isak, if I had to guess, I imagine he will start on the bench. If I'm Eddie Howe, I'll be thinking I'd rather keep him protected and use him if we need to use him. I'd rather have him fresh for the final. That is my guess. Like you say, obviously no Botman, no Gordon, as you say, they will have to. They've got players they can bring in. They've still got a very good squad of players. I just feel like this presents a really good opportunity for West Ham to beat a big team as well, the team that are performing well this season. If West Ham were to say get 3 points, keep the clean sheet again, maybe against Newcastle, I think it would send a bit of a strong message, actually, that West Ham have turned a big corner under Graham Potter this season. Because regardless, in terms of West Ham, I do feel like the football world hasn't really picked up on the fact that our performances have really improved under Potter. I think they're only seeing results, so I kind of get that. And okay, we've won the last 2 games, so that's getting a little bit of notice. But ahead of those 2 results, a lot of people going, I don't really know what Potter's had. He hasn't really had any impact at West Ham. Well, we could, as West Ham fans, we could say, well, I know the results have been brilliant, but we could see on the pitch. I think this game presents an opportunity for West Ham to actually send a very clear message that if three games on the spin, if you're to win in Premier League, is very hard to do, and if you're able to do it against a team like Newcastle, I think it's certainly a sign that you're going in the right direction. Right, on to West Ham, mate. As we're a West Ham channel, let's talk about West Ham. And it's a good time, Tom, isn't it? Does it feel? It's weird. I'm finding this period weird that we've had a really crap season. We're currently 15th in the league. you know, all right, we're not going down. That's confirmed basically. So, but everyone's really in a good mood. Everyone's feeling pretty happy. I think everyone's feeling pretty optimistic about things. Are you sharing that kind of feeling?
I am, yeah. I mean, like I said before, it's almost like we can just enjoy the football again, and that's why it felt really frustrating under Lopetegui, because it was a bit of a free hit this season. I really do feel that, because I know that the transfers added a bit of pressure. Everyone was saying, like, let's get into Europe, and I get that. We obviously always want to see if we can qualify for Europe. But I feel like any manager coming in last summer, getting the team playing, getting some free-flowing football, getting an attacking team, getting that togetherness that we're seeing under Graham Potter now, I think the fans would be in good spirits like they are now. So I think we're seeing what we should have seen all season. Now, let's not dwell on, obviously, the negatives of that period, because now it feels a lot more positive. The noises coming out of the camp sound really good. We're seeing performances now. We're seeing a couple of results as well, which is always helpful. So, yeah, as you said before, it's a bit of a pre-season, bit of a line in the sand to see what we can do next season. So, I'm really positive. I think Potter's the right man. We talked about him before. I think he's the right fit. And if we can get this transfer window right, which we've said before at West Ham, if we can get this summer transfer window right, I'll be very optimistic about next season. Very optimistic indeed.
I certainly am. I'm sharing the optimism. I'm quite excited to see where we're going on this journey at the moment with Potter. It feels good. There's a good feel-good factor around West Ham at the moment. Right, into this game, a bit of team news. Lucas Paqueta is available for selection again. He's returned from injury, as is Vladimir Soufal is also available. Crescencio Somerville, I don't believe is available, but he is making strides towards his return. He might be a shock inclusion, but I doubt it. I don't think, as we record this, Graham Potter hasn't done his press conference yet. I think it's a little bit later on. So it'd be interesting to see what he says about injuries. But I don't think Somerville and Fulkrug are quite there yet. But there's talk that they will be available for the Everton game, so which is fantastic. Look, we're coming, as you said, Tom, we're coming into this in good form. 2 wins, 2 clean sheets. Confidence levels are rising. We're under no pressure, really. Let's be honest. I mean, I like the fact we've got like a little mini league going on now between the top being 11th. That's kind of our race now to catch Brentford, because I think what makes it quite interesting is the teams that are in it. You've got Everton with David Moyes factor in there. We want to finish above them. You've got Tottenham, who obviously we want to finish above. We've got Man United, who we bloody better finish above. We cannot be finishing below them after the season they've had. I just think it's quite a nice end to the season. It feels like there's something to play for. And also bearing in mind, each position's worth about £2 million. So it's not as if it's pointless. We do want to do well. But I like the fact the pressure's off. We can start to enjoy it a little bit. And I'm looking forward to this one. Let's go through our team. So I'm going to do it as we did before. So we'll go for each position and we'll discuss who we want to see in that position. I think we'll go with the same formation as we have seen under Potter, the back 3 with the wing backs and the box midfield and a striker. Right, let's start with the goalkeeper, Tom. Who are you having? Who are you putting in?
Yeah, Areola. I think he's been fairly good. I mean, Leicester didn't have to do much, but still did it fairly well, what he did have to do. And even Arsenal, we didn't have to do too much, but made a couple of decent saves. So keep that confidence with the defence. Yeah, I'm happy for Areola to stay in that.
Yes, me too. Absolutely. I do want to see us get a new goalkeeper this summer. I do think I still consider Areola a number 2, to be honest. I'm just not sold on the guy. He's been here long enough and he just hasn't quite grabbed that shirt for me and made that position his own. I always feel like he's a few mistakes away from being dropped again, or you know what I mean? I'm just not quite sold. But yes, for this game, definitely. And well, for the rest of the season, as long as he stays fit and in form. Right, let's start with our back 3. Tom, who are you going with for your back 3?
Yeah, much the same. Todibo, Kilman and Cresswell for me. I don't think we need to change it. Back-to-back clean sheets. Happy with how they've performed. I think the formation suits all 3 of them. So yeah, I don't see any reason to change. I'd stay with that 3.
Yeah, we are completely aligned at the moment. Yeah, I've got the same. Todibo, Kilman and Cresswell. I've got to say Cresswell. I'm so pleased with him. And, the fact it was very much earmarked this would be his last season. Unlikely he was going to play much of a part. But I think when he's been called upon, he's been great, actually. I think he's been really useful. And I think, and so much so, I think he's worthy of a new deal or probably another season. I think wouldn't hurt him to keep him around because I think he's proven he's still a useful player to this side. And bearing in mind as well the impact he's having on Ollie Scholes' development. You know, he's talked about him, Scholes, how he's being a mentor for him, and I just feel like he's really impressed with Creso. Actually, I'm quite surprised how well he's sort of stepped it up this season, considering his age, etc. Right, let's go with our wing backs then. I'm guessing we're going to be the same, but I'm going to start you, Tom. What we're going with?
Yep, Aaron Wan-Bissaka at right wing back and Ollie Scholes at left wing back. Again, no real need to change it. Both been performing really well. Standouts, both of them for this season. So yeah, much again. I'd keep them in place.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't need to change anything there. Been very impressed with both. Scholes, obviously, his breakthrough season at West Ham. I don't want to put any, see pressure put on the lad, but it's quite clear that he's a talent, and we can continue seeing his development. I think we've got a really special player on our hands there, and obviously Wan-Bissaka as well. He's a signing of the summer by quite some distance. I think he's coming to West Ham and he's been outstanding. Right, let's start with our defensive duo midfield. The sort of the sort of proper midfielders for this one. Who are you going with for that?
Yeah, I'm going with James Ward-Prowse again and Alvarez. I think nice blend. Ward-Prowse got on the ball a lot against Leicester and sort of was the metronome in midfield, keeping things ticking over, passing it left to right. I think he kept us playing, so I would keep him in. I think he's been in decent form since he's come back. And Alvarez was okay against Leicester. Again, it was not really his sort of game. I think the Arsenal game was more where his sort of strengths lie. But I think this game will be important because I think Newcastle's midfield is really strong. Tonali, Bruno, Joe Linton, Willock. I think they've got some good options in midfield. So hopefully Alvarez's strength, like sort of physicality in there, can break the play up. So I'd go with those two.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm put the same down. Alvarez, Ward-Prowse. I mean, Alvarez, I quite like what Potter has done with Alvarez, actually. When you consider the role he was given under Lopetegui, which was diabolical, really, considering that he was being asked to sort of drop in a right wing back when we were on the attack. So he'd send our Wan-Bissaka forward and basically say to Alvarez, you cover the right wing back when it's quite clearly obvious he's got no pace at all and he was just getting ripped to shreds. But I feel like Potter's addressed that and has given Alvarez a very straightforward, simple role. And I feel like that makes it a lot easier for him. He's only got a simple, a smaller area of ground to cover. This is your job. You hold that midfield and that's your role. And I feel like he suits him. I think if you ask him to do too much running and get up and down the pitch, you can see he struggles. He hasn't got that sort of physicality about him. He's not a box-to-box midfielder. He's a holding midfielder. And I feel like when you give him that role, he just thrives far better. And Ward-Prowse, I mean, it's just been excellent since his return. I'm quite surprised. I mean, I like Ward-Prowse, always have done, but the fact he's come back in straight from his loan and he hasn't been away, just straight into the side, looking confident. He's been very good, wanting the ball, like you say. He distributes play nicely. Yeah, I'm more than happy with that midfield. Right, let's go with our front three then. Who are you picking, Macy, for this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if Potter changes it. I think he'll go unchanged again. But personally, I would like to see Ferguson start, and therefore you've got Kudus and Bowen in the sort of two behind. Just because I think, as we talked about, Newcastle, a little bit on the ropes, a little bit struggling for form, lost 3 out of the last 5 in the league, obviously lost it last week in the FA Cup. I think we should go for them. I think we've not got much to lose, to be honest. We might as well go for them. And therefore, get some more attackers on the pitch, try and push higher. I think if you put Ferguson as the number 9, occupy the defenders, and then let Bowen and Kudus sort of float in those sort of 10 half spaces as well. So I feel like Souček against Leicester struggled a little bit. Obviously he scored the goal and he's done well, but it wasn't his sort of game. So I'd like to see sort of 2 more attacking players in those roles like Kudus and Bowen. And then hopefully Ferguson, let's get him off the mark. He obviously missed that chance against Leicester. Let's see if he can get his first goal for the club. And let's get a good look at him. Because like you said in the last video, we haven't really seen much of him. So it would be good to get at least sort of 70 minutes under his belt and see if he can score his first goal for the club.
Yes, I do agree that we need to change things up. I think in the front three, Jarrod Bowen, obviously on the right-hand side. I want to see, like yourself, I want to see Evan Ferguson start. I don't want to keep seeing this protection of Evan Ferguson. I don't know what we're protecting him for. He's not our player. We need to keep this in mind. He's not a West Ham player. I don't want to keep feeling like we're protecting an injury-prone player. I don't understand, because if we're going to go ahead and sign him as some, which I don't want us to do, to be honest, No disrespect to Evan Ferguson, but I think it's nothing to do with the player. Actually, it's to do with Brighton. Brighton wants £60 million for him. No way West Ham should be even considering that. As I've said previously, £30 million for me would be a bit really 30. Okay, maybe think about it. 60 is just ridiculous. So the only way West Ham are going to get a £60 million decision, if you're going to rubber stamp a £60 million signing, is that he plays 90 minutes pretty much every week now to the end of the season, bags a few goals, proves that he's a very good player for the team, and then you might go, okay, maybe it's worth it. Maybe we'll have a look at what we can do. So I don't want to keep seeing this protection of Ferguson. I don't want to see him spending 60, 70 minutes on the bench and coming on for a little cameo. It's just, I don't really get what we're waiting for. So absolutely Ferguson starts this game for me, as I say. And also I want to see Jarrod Bowen and Ferguson link up. I want to see how this is all going to work. We're just not getting to see much of it at the moment. So I agree with you on that. However, I'm dropping Kudus for this one, Tom. I think I'd like to see Paqueta start, and the reason being nothing to do with Kudus so much. I thought he's been pretty good actually. I think his form's picking up. I think he wants to do well. The reason being is I want to see Paqueta play. He's back from injury, and he seems to have a good record against Newcastle. He's a game that he quite likes playing. Obviously, he played early in the season, and we won at Newcastle when he was the goal scorer. He's a big player for us. Lucas Paqueta. No, we didn't win there, did we? What was the score? On top of mine. That's changed.
We won 2-0.
Yeah, it was 2-0. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, we did. But actually, one of our best performance under Lopetegui, wasn't it? It was a sort of a surprise performance. That's it. Yeah. And so for that reason, I just want to see him play. I feel like with all this betting stuff as well hanging over him, he seems to thrive under that sometimes. It's like he always wants to stick his fingers up at the rest of the football world and the authorities and stuff. And I don't know. And also I want that creative outlet. I think at times I'm seeing from Kudus, he does give the ball away a lot. He tries too much in terms of trying to on his own. He wants to keep running direct at goal and trying to take on all these players. And I just feel like with these games, you need to, they're a good side, Newcastle. You're not going to be able to just run through 3 or 4 players. You're going to have to be better with your distribution. And I just feel like Paqueta, that might suit him a little bit better. Again, as well, I want to see this link up with Ferguson. I'd like to see Bowen and Paqueta supporting Ferguson, just see how that looks. Obviously, with Kudus on the bench, it can come on at some stage. Right, down to the all-important score prediction. Tom, how are you feeling? You feeling excited? You feeling good? Or you feeling a little bit, not so sure?
I think, to be honest, I think it's got 1-1 written all over it, but I'm going to go 2-1. I think if there is going to be a winner, it will be us. I want to be positive. I want to say that we'll really put in a performance, like you say, that it is sort of noteworthy, and the rest of the league goes, oh, okay, West Ham are definitely on the upward trend. So, yeah, I say 2-1. I think Newcastle will score in the counter-attack. I think it will be a tight game. I think both teams will not want the ball in some sense. Both teams will be happy to hit on the counter, which might make it a little bit to and fro. And I think we'll just edge it 2-1, hopefully. I
like it. Well, we're quite similar. I'm going to go 1-0 West Ham. I've got this feeling. I've just got a feeling we're going to get something. I think this is a good time to play Newcastle. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be a tough game, regardless of their injuries and all that stuff we talked about, the final in their mind. It's still a very tough game. They're a good side. They're a team fighting for Champions League football for a reason. There's a reason they're in the Carabao Cup final. They're a good side, and they're not going to be easy to beat. So, but I just feel like at the moment there's a bit of momentum of West Ham. It's under the floodlights as well, which I always think gives us a little bit of advantage at home. We seem to lift ourselves on those night games, and yeah, just got a good feeling about this one. I think we might, if we can grab 3 points in this one, it'd be a real big result, and certainly instill that confidence that actually West Ham have got a fair good chance here of finishing in that sort of 11th or 12th position. We can do it, and so it is a big game, and it'll be a first sort of big result, I think, for Potter in terms of at the London Stadium as well. He needs a good home win. Obviously, beating Leicester was good, but Leicester was so bad. I think beating a side that's decent at home is a very different thing. So yeah, it's one I'm seriously looking forward to, matey, to be honest with you. Right. Really appreciate that, Tom, obviously coming back in, and looking forward to doing the review with you as well. And when we can get that done obviously next week. And fingers crossed we're both both celebrating a nice win. But look, thanks for watching, everybody. Really appreciate it. And until the next time, come on, you irons.